Hello everyone, this is KenBroTech from KenBroTech. At KenBroTech, we say learn programming, you can do it. So in today's tutorial, we are going to design this beautiful web interface. So this is a design I'm making for a restaurant by name Western Home Touch. Here we have the logo of the restaurant. It's just a single page web interface. And we have the menu bar over here. So for instance, when you hover around this, you see the whole ring effect right over here. When we come to menu, you see it over here, order and contacts. Then also we have some buttons over here with some nice hovering effects and a background image. So one of the key points of this interface is to demonstrate how responsive it is. So many a times you have websites that are supposed to be responsive. And when I say responsive, I mean they are supposed to be mobile friendly. So the interface you see here on a desktop is definitely not going to look the same on a mobile phone. And that's simply because of the screen size. So various screen size will have different ways which websites do appear. So for instance, the website you see when you go to facebook.com on your desktop is definitely not the same when you are using a mobile device. And by being not the same, I'm referring to the layout as far as the various items on the website are being placed. So clearly that's what you are trying to do. So I'm going to drag the screen along, and as you can see, when we come to a mobile version, because this is the smallest of the screen sizes, you can see that the buttons over here are displayed one on top of each other, and the menu items comes under the company logo. And if it is a big screen size, we definitely have this. So you can see the differences between the full screen size of the website that's going to be displayed on. Basically, one of the main things we'll be talking about is media queries, because we are going to use media queries in making this website responsive. So in starting with the design of this website, I'm going to create a folder, and I'll give it a name WHT, which is more or less an acronym for Western Home Touch. Now I'll open this up, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to right click here and say open with code, and that's my VS Code. So here I have the folder opened here. Now there are some few things I'm going to do. I'm going to create my index page. So I have index.html. I'm also going to click on this button to create styling.css. Then there are some few things that I need. So when I come into the folder over here, we have index.html and styling.css. Now, the only things that I'll need perhaps is the images that I'm going to use. So basically I use two images in designing the interface. So here we have, I've copied the images and I'm going to paste them here. So if you get back into VS Code, basically this is what we have. We have the landing-img image, and that's basically the image we saw at the background. Then we have the Western Home Touch logo over here, and we are going to include that in the website. So in order to properly manage the things we have in here very well, I'm going to create a folder. I'm going to call this media and put all the images in there. We are going to start with the very basics. So inside index.html, we are going to put out our HTML5 tag so that we have this template. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to home page. And this home page has to do with the title. So the first thing I would want us to do is to go into our folder and go and launch it up. So we have index.html, and as it stands, we haven't done anything in here. So I'll come back into my body. And the first thing we are going to do is we are going to use the HTML semantic tag. So we have and inside, let's have a div. Let's give it a class
Header.
of wrapper. Then
Header.
inside that div, we have our nav. Then inside our nav, we have our URL. Then we have our li tags. we are going systematic. So this is an HTML5 semantic tag, which is basically specifying that this is going to be our. Then inside our header, we are going to have our nav. The nav is also an HTML semantic tag. Then inside the nav is definitely header, the unordered list elements, and here we have the list items themselves. And these list items are going to be links. But for the purposes of this work, they are not going to go anywhere. So you're going to say home. And I'm going to duplicate this about 3 times. So what I'll do in Visual Studio Code is to press on Shift, Control, and the down arrow key to duplicate this. Then what I'm going to do is change their names. I'll change the first one to menu. Then I'll change this to order. And this one will be contact. So when I save this and come back into the browser and come and refresh, we have these items listed over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to link up the CSS style sheets we've created. So all we need is a link tag. And if you're in VS Code, immediately we type in link and press enter. This is going to be generated for us. Then we have it in that same folder. So you're going to do // then the name of the style sheet, which is styling.css. Now you're going to save this, and normally this is what I do. I just have to check if indeed I haven't missed anything out. So I'm going to just grab the background. All right. When I say blue and come and refresh, yes, I have blue here, so I'm rest assured everything is working. So now I can start with my styling. So what I would normally do is I'll grab the body and do a margin of 0 as well as a padding of 0, so that we eliminate all the margins and paddings around everything. Now what I would want to do is, first of all, I'm going to grab the header tag. Okay, this header tag. So in order to do that, I'll just type in header over here. And inside the header tag, I'm going to give a background image. That background image is going to be a URL. So it's going to link up with what I have in media. So it's going to be /media / and the name of the image, which is a landing image. So when we save this and come and refresh, you can see that the image is somewhere hiding behind. So what we are going to do is we are going to specify a height for the image. And for the height, we are going to use 100 HV. 100 HV simply means we need 100% of the viewports. So what that gives us is, when we refresh, we're going to see the image all over the whole place. But then the image doesn't look great. And when I say it doesn't look great, is what I mean. We have to specify some hue styling to it in order for it to look okay. So I'm going to say background. I'm going to say background size, and for background size, I'll choose cover, and I'll say background position, I'll say center. So when I save this, come back in here, you can see that our image is looking great. Now what we want to do is to create some kind of a nav area. Okay, so this is what I mean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say nav, and inside nav, I'm going to specify a height of 70 pixels. Then I'm going to say background. And for the background, I'm going to use the RGBA color shade. So I'm going to say 0, 0, 0, 0.6, so that I have some shade at the background. So when I refresh, this is essentially what I have. So this is going to be the navigation area, which is a little bit shaded away from the entire image at the background. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to grab these elements in here and do or apply some basic styling. What I can do is I can grab the nav, the UL elements, and for the UL element, I'm going to float it to the right. When I save this, I need it to the right over here. So when I come in and refresh, that's essentially what we have. And what I'll do next is I'll still go into the nav, the UL element, and the li element this time around. And I'm going to say display, and I'll specify inline. So now by default, they are blocked. That's why one is on top of each other. So when I say display inline, what it means is they are going to be lined up on the same line, and that's what we have over here. So what I'll do is I'll specify a padding, and by padding I mean an internal distance so that they are a little bit separated. So I'll say 20 pixels, and when I come back to come and refresh, you definitely see 20 pixels in and around here. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the element itself. So I'll need to go further and grab the anchor tag. So what I'll do is I'll still go through nav, the UL, the li, and the anchor tag. And I'm going to say text decoration. And for text decoration, I'm going to say none. What this means is I want to take away the underlining style out of it. So when I refresh, it's definitely gone. Then I also change the color of the font. So for color, I'm going to say white. And when I save this and come back to come and refresh, we see white over here. Now definitely you want it to appear a little bit bigger. So what I can do is I can say font size. And for font size, I'm going to choose 25 pixels. So when I choose 25 pixels and refresh, this is what we have, and this looks good. Now on the original website, I have the logo somewhere here, and this is the logo image for the brand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the logo somewhere here because it's going to be contained inside the nav. So in order to do that, I'm just going to bring the image tag, and for the source, I'm going to say media, and inside media, I'm going to go and grab the logo image. So I'll do logo.png. So when I save this and come back here, when I refresh, the logo is a little bit big, so we need to size it up. And in order to do so, let me give this a class of logo so that we can grab it and not just the image. We can target the logo itself. So what we can do is we can do .logo, and for the .logo, I'm going to specify a width of let's say 120 pixels. So when I specify a width of 120 pixels, that's essentially what we have over here. Now it looks good. Now what I want to do is there's no space here, and it's almost as if there's no space here except for the padding that I gave. So what I did with the initial design was to put everything we have here in a wrapper. Okay, so the wrapper covers the nav and everything within it, so which includes the logo. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give some kind of margin. So I'll grab this wrapper and I'll copy it here, and I'm going to give a margin. And for the margin, I don't want a margin top. So for the top, I'm going to say 0. And for the left and right, I'm going to say 30 pixels. So when I do this and refresh, you can see that it is grabbing the whole thing, but then I want to leave this outside. So what I need to do is to actually bring this wrapper inside of the nav. So I'll do Ctrl X and bring it here, and I'll clear this div tag over here, and I'll put this back right here. Okay, so basically these are some of the things you encounter, but then the most important thing is when you see them, you know where to rectify them. Yeah, so basically this is what I wanted. I wanted to have a gap over here, but then it appears I grabbed the whole nav, which wasn't my intention, so I needed to put it back. So it was just a matter of knowing where to place your div. So we are gradually getting there. The next thing to do is to add the hovering effect on the nav. So for the hovering effect, I'm going to grab the nav, the URL, the li, and the link is of the anchor tags. And what I'm going to do is I need a border bottom of 2 pixels solid, and let me choose orange, and probably go in here and grab a bit of a different color shade. So I'll grab this one, and when I save, come back and come and refresh over here, what I see is this is over here. I think I might be missing something. Okay, so what I need to add is the hover. So when I save this and come back and come and refresh, it only appears when I hover around it. One thing I can do is to increase the width of the line. Now what you have over here looks okay, but I would want to apply some styling to it, okay, as far as the transition is concerned. So for the transition, I'll come in here and say transition, and I'm going to spy 0.5 seconds ease. So when I save this, come back here to come and refresh, and I hover the mouse around it, you see the transition over here. It looks great. So we are done with our header and placing our logo and kind of making things look great. Now one of the things we had here was some kind of a text area which had delicious healthy food. So we are going to put that over here. So you quickly go into our index.html, and under the header we can have a div with a class name of container. So inside container, I'm going to specify an h1 tag. So inside the h1 tag, I'm going to say delicious and healthy food. So when I refresh, we see it's lined up over here. So we are going to put it somewhere inside the middle over here. So in order to do so, we need to go into our CSS, and since we gave it a class of container, we can grab this container class and apply some styling. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put out the dot container in here. Then what I want container to do is I want to position it. So I'm going to give it a position of absolute. And for a position of absolute, I'm going to specify a top of 50%. So when I do a top of 50% and come and refresh, we see this being placed 50% to the top of this. So now I'll need to put it a little bit in the middle or in the middle. So I'm going to say left. And for left too, I'm going to say 50%. So when I save this and come back, we are seeing it to the left 50%. Well, it doesn't look too centered to my liking. So in order to fix this, we are going to add in this. We are going to say transform, and we are going to say translate, and we do negative 50% and a negative 50% over here. So once we save this and come back over here, you can see that it is indeed centered. Now what we had over here was some kind of background behind this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a background, and for the background I'm going to use the RBGA scheme, and I'm going to choose this. So I'll say Control S, And this is basically what I specified for the header. So inside the nav area, that's what we have over here. So when I refresh, we're going to see this at the background, and the color of the text in there was red, so we can say color so that it pops out. When we say color red and come and refresh, this is essentially what we had. I would want to increase this to about, let's say, 0.8 so that it looks a bit darker. Okay, so this looks good for me. Now what I also want to do is to specify a border radius, because there were some, it was curved, so border radius 20 pixels. So once I do border radius 20 pixels, this is what I have. The next thing I would want to do, we have our text being written the way it was over here. Now in the original website, everything was in uppercase. So what we can do is to use a text transform property, and for text transform we are going to say uppercase. When we save this and come back here, everything is going to be lined up uppercase over here, and this looks good. Last but not the least, let's do a padding around the whole thing. And for padding, let's say 20 pixels to the top and right, to the top and bottom, and to the left and right, let's say 40 pixels. Let's see how this looks like and see if that's what we want. Okay, so this looks great. So we have delicious and healthy foods. All right, so the next thing we need to do is to put the buttons over here. Then we definitely move on to the media queries. So for the buttons, we'll come back to HTML. I'm going to put the buttons outside here. So I'm going to have a div, and I'm going to give it a class of buttons. Then the buttons I had in there were links. So I had pizza for the first one. And once again, I'm going to do a shift, alt, and a down arrow key. And I had burger over here. Then I give both of them a class of btn. All right, so what I did was I grabbed the buttons tag, and inside buttons, what I did was I grabbed what we have over here. So basically this few lines is what is putting the text in the center. So once I do this and come back over here and come and refresh, we have our buttons being placed over here. Okay, so we need to put it a bit down, and we just have to change the top property. So for the top property, we are going to say 70, and when we say 70 and save and come and refresh, we are seeing pizza and burger over here. All right, so pizza and burger is in there. So what we are going to do is we are going to grab in the button class so that I can style the individual elements in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the class btn. Then for btn, I'm going to say a color because I want to change the color to white. Then I'll choose a font size of 40 pixels for now. When I refresh this and come back and come and refresh, we see it's popping up over here. Okay, it looks kind of okay for the font size. So let me take away the text decoration, which is the underlining and there. So text decoration, I'm going to say none, and I'm going to give a margin between them. So I'm going to say margin, the top is going to be 0, and the left and right, let me say 20 pixels. So when I do this and save, we are seeing the distance between the two. And for each of them, if I should specify a border of 4 pixels solid, height, save. This is essentially what we have for now. So inside it, I can give it a padding. And for the padding, for the top and down, I'm going to say 10 pixels. And for the left and right, I'll do 20 pixels. So when I come back to come and refresh, this is essentially what we have. So it looks kind of okay. But then, as we can see, our background doesn't look great. So we're going to pick up this color over here and put it at the background so that it's get the same color shading that we used in the original website. So what I'll do is I'm going to specify a background over here. And for the background, we're going to pick up this color because that's a hovering effect color that we wanted to use. So I'll do Control C and put it right here. Control V and save. So if you should come back and come and refresh, we have this color over here. Okay, so I think this look a little okay. So let's add the hovering effects. And for the hovering effects, it's very simple. We do btn dot colon hover, sorry. We do btn colon hover. So for the hovering effects, all we need is a background color again. So we are going to do a background color. And I'm going to put this over there and change it a little bit to something deeper. So this is what I mean. Alright, so when I save this, this looks a little bit deeper than this. I think so. So when I save this and refresh and come back here, you see there's some sharp contrast. Okay, it's not too sharp, so let's do something a little bit reddish. So I just hover around it and come here, come and select this. Okay, I think this will look a bit sharper. So when I refresh, when I come here, all right, so you can see the hovering effects over here. So there's one last thing I would want to touch on. Sometimes you have a website and maybe you can just come here and be grabbing things over here. It doesn't look great, okay, per the design. So what we can do is, remember this is in the container class. So what we can do is we can come inside container and come and specify another property as part of our styling. So we can say user select and we choose none. When we save this and come and refresh over here, now we cannot select this. Okay, I'm trying to use my mouse and trying to grab things over here, but it's not working. And we can do that for the other text as well. But the most important thing we are left with is with the media query, and this is where the responsiveness I was talking about comes in. As this is our website, okay, it looks great on a desktop computer, but it is obvious a lot of people are going to use mobile devices, tablets, to also view our website. Now this is how embarrassing it's going to be if we leave our website this way. So now on a tablet device, this is how the screen size is going to look. And you can see, and this is not going to be the best of design you want to present to somebody who is hungry. Okay, it's definitely going to make the person lose his or her appetite. So what we can do is we need to add a media query so that it becomes responsive. So whether the user is using a tablet, which may look like this as far as the screen size is concerned, or a small device like a phone, it is definitely going to look good. And in order to appreciate this very well, we are going to right click on this and go to the inspect when you are using Google Chrome. And that's why I use Google Chrome a lot. So now this is what I'm trying to do. I'm going to shrink this up over here. And I'll look over here. We have responsive. So we can select, and these are a number of devices that Google Chrome is giving us so that we can use to check how our website is going to look. On, for instance, on an iPhone 6, 7, 8 screen, this is how it's going to look like. Okay, it doesn't look too great. And this is how it's going to look on an iPad. So remember, an iPad is the screen size is a little bit bigger than an iPhone. So you can see that maybe on an iPad it may be okay, but then on an iPhone it doesn't look good. On an iPhone X it doesn't look good. So what is accounting for this has to do with the responsiveness as far as the screen sizes are concerned, and that's where media queries come in. We are going to use media query to make it adaptive or responsive to other screen sizes. Now, in order to use media queries, the most important thing is we need to come to the very bottom of our styling, and we are going to add media queries over here. So I'm going to put out a comment, and I'm going to say media queries. So for the media queries, all that we need to do is we need to do an @ symbol, then we type in the word media. So once we type in the word media, then the next thing we need to specify is the size of the screen. So we can do a max width, and this is a width that is very important. You can do a max width, and for the max width, let's say we want a max width of 789 pixels. When you do 789 pixels, then we open and close this. So what it means is anything, we can start typing in CSS over here and it's going to apply. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab the header and I'm going to put this side by side so that we can see as and when things begin to take shape. I'm going to put this over here. So on a small phone screen, this is how it's going to look, and it doesn't look good. Okay, so here we go. So on a small phone screen, this is how it's going to look. Okay, it doesn't look good. What I would want to do is I would want to put my logo and my navigation area a little bit organized. This is the header, and inside the header I can grab the nav. So this is what I'm going to do. Remember, the height over here is 70 pixels. So I'm going to go through the header and the nav and grab this height, and we are going to see over here. So what we can do is we can actually take in the nav, and let's say we specify a background. You specify a background of red. Now I'll save this. Before I refresh, remember we have a background of this shade over here, and that's why we have this shading over here. Now if I should refresh this, we are going to see that now the background is red. But then if we should come back to our big screen size, it is normal. Okay, so basically that's what you are trying to say. We are trying to say that if it gets to a phone size of a screen, we want to change some few things over here, and that's basically what we've started over here. But then we don't want a background of red per se, so I'm going to clear this. What we want to do is we want to, let me refresh this. So first of all, this is what I want to do. Let me grab the header, and for the header I'm going to say float none. So I'm going to say float none. Now when I do float none and come and refresh, you can see that things are beginning to take shape. And after float none, I'm going to say text align, and for text align I'm going to choose center. And when I refresh, you can see that everything is going to align to the center. But what we have over here, which is the nav li elements, as you see over here, the padding is too big and the font is too big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here and say nav, the UL and the li elements, and I'll say padding, let's say padding 10 pixels. And when I refresh, you can see that the items, because the padding has been reduced, there's room for all of them to be on the same line. And what I can do is to increase the entire um background over here like I did before. So I can just grab the nav element and give it a height of the 120 pixels that I do it. So when I refresh, yeah, basically this is what we have. Okay, so as you can see, our navigation area is taking shape, and this is just for the navigation area and the header. So if we should come back to a full screen size, it looks different. It is okay for the user, and it is very responsive when it comes to a small phone screen size. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is to actually grab the container and apply styling to it. So what I can do is I'll come in here, and since the container is a class, I'll do dot container. So we are basically applying different types of styling to different parts of it using the media queries. So what I can do is I can do a font size over here, and for font size I'll do 20 pixels. When I do 20 pixels and come and save, see that the font size has rather increased. So I'll do 10 and see how it looks like. So 10 kind of looks okay. Okay, 10 looks okay. Then what I'll need to do is to grab the buttons over here, these buttons, and also shake it up a little bit. And we'll do a dot button. And as far as the button is concerned, what we want to do, originally we have this font size of 40 and things of that sort. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to decrease the font size. So what I can do is font size, and for font size, let's start with 20 pixels and see. So when I refresh, okay, kind of looks okay. So after we do this, we can specify a margin. You can do a margin of 10 pixels, and when we save and come and refresh, as you can see, we have the margin in here, and our website is now responsive. So this is how it's going to look on a phone, and if it is on a computer, this is how it's going to look, or on a desktop, this is how it's going to look. And this looks okay. It may not be perfect, but then it is okay, at least for what you are seeing now. So for instance, if it is a tablet, this is what the user is going to see. If it is a full screen, this is what the user is going to see. So as we can see, this is a responsive website, and the magic over here is the media queries. So as far as the media queries are concerned, we are specifying the maximum width, and we are applying different CSS styling as far as that width is concerned. This brings us to the end of building our websites. Now, if you find this tutorial very useful, there are a couple of ways you can help me grow my channel. I'll humbly request you to subscribe to my channel. Click on the notification button so that you get notified whenever I release a video. Share with friends and people who you think will find this tutorial very useful. And always remember, learn programming. You can do it. Bye bye.